Status report. Zaxthor commanded, trying to maintain some semblance of military discipline, even as his bridge officers pored over what appeared to be homework assignments. Sir, First Observer Kylix responded, her crystalline form shimmering with excitement. We've successfully completed the temporal mathematics course. The humans left us. Graduation present. The present in question materialized on the bridge, a simple wooden box that, according to their scans, was simultaneously brand new and thousands of years old. Inside was a note written in elegant script. Congratulations, you're ready for the practical exam. Don't worry, we made it fun. Fun, Zaxthor had learned, was a very dangerous word when it came from humans. The last fun exercise had involved a temporal scavenger hunt where each clue existed in a different century, and the final prize turned out to be a collection of what humans called dad jokes about time travel. Sir, Science Officer Myrax called out, I think I've figured out the pattern in their movement. It's beautiful. On the main display, a complex web of temporal trajectories appeared. The humans hadn't been running randomly. They had been weaving a pattern through space-time itself, creating an elaborate dance of cause and effect that was as much art as it was science. They're not just teaching us temporal physics, Myrax continued, her voice filled with awe. They're showing us how to see time differently. Each paradox they create, each temporal loop they establish, it's all part of a larger pattern. As if in response to this revelation, new coordinates appeared across their screens, each leading to a different point in space-time. But this time, something was different. The coordinates weren't just locations. They were parts of an equation, a massive formula written across the fabric of reality itself. Sir, Tactical Officer Vexthor reported, we're detecting temporal anomalies at each coordinate point. They appear to be linking together. The Betelgeuse station suddenly lit up with holographic displays, showing the movements of humanity through time. But now, with their newly acquired understanding, the Nexeri could see what they had missed before. Each jump, each apparent escape, had been precisely calculated to create interference patterns in the temporal field. It's a resonance cascade, Myrax whispered. They're using their own movement through time to create standing waves in the temporal dimension. But why? Another message appeared, this time encoded in the quantum fluctuations of space itself. Ready for the advanced course. Here's a hint. Time isn't just a dimension. It's an instrument, and we're teaching you how to play. The Nexeri fleet had begun this chase with the most advanced technology in known space. Now, they found themselves learning that their understanding of reality had barely scratched the surface. Humanity hadn't just mastered time travel. They had turned it into an art form, a science, and a teaching tool all at once. Sir, Communications Officer Relix announced, we're receiving transmissions from other sectors. The temporal effects, they're spreading. Other species are detecting them, studying them. The humans aren't just teaching us. They're teaching everyone. Zaxthor's crystalline form pulsed with colors that indicated deep contemplation. The greatest military force in the galaxy had been transformed into the vanguard of a scientific revolution, all because humanity had decided that running away was too simple, too boring. They had instead chosen to turn their escape into the greatest physics lesson in history. New coordinates detected, Kylix reported. They're everywhere and everywhere at once. And there's a message. Final exam approaching. Hope you've been paying attention. Remember, the universe is the ultimate playground, and time is just one of its many toys. As the Nexeri fleet prepared to follow yet another temporal trail, Zaxthor realized that his species' understanding of conquest had been hopelessly primitive. Humanity hadn't just escaped. They had turned their pursuers into students, their flight into a lesson, and the very fabric of space-time into their classroom. At the edge of known space, where the light of distant galaxies painted shadows across the crystalline hull of the eternal dawn, High Commander Zaxthor made a discovery that changed everything. The humans hadn't been running away. They had been running towards something. The revelation came as his fleet encountered their most ambitious lesson yet. An entire nebula transformed into a vast temporal computer, its gases shifting through past and future states in precise patterns that encoded vast amounts of data. "Sir," Myrax reported, her crystalline form vibrating with barely contained excitement, "we're detecting signatures of other species within the nebula. Not just humans. Everyone. Everyone." Shifting through shades of deep blue that indicated intense concentration. Science Officer Myrax's voice carried a note of wonder that bordered on unprofessional. "Sir, the humans, they've created a working model of temporal mechanics using entire planets as demonstration pieces. The facility contains what appears to be a basic curriculum in time manipulation theory. A school." Zax Thor's form flickered with disbelief. "They left us a school." "Not just any school, sir. The equations carved into the facility's walls. They're elegant, revolutionary. They're teaching principles of temporal physics that our best scientists never even conceived of, and they're doing it with what? With stick figure drawings and something called memes, sir. They've turned complex quantum mechanics into jokes that somehow make perfect sense." The Nexeri Empire had always prided itself on being the most advanced civilization in known space. Their crystalline technology, their quantum probability engines, their mastery of space, all of it had made them unbeatable. Until now. On the main viewing screen, a holographic human professor appeared, complete with a comically oversized lab coat and wild hair. "Welcome to Temporal Physics 101. Today's lesson: why time isn't what you think it is, and why that's hilarious. Please ensure your causality stabilizers are activated. We're not responsible for any paradox-induced existential crisis." Zax Thor watched as his best scientists, the pride of the Nexeri Empire, found themselves taking notes from cartoon drawings and holographic lectures that somehow managed to explain complex temporal mechanics through interpretive dance and cat videos. "Sir," Communications Officer Relix interrupted, "we're detecting another temporal trail. It appears to lead to something called Temporal Physics 102. Advanced Practical Applications." Before Zax Thor could respond, another message appeared, this time written in the stars themselves, literally rearranged to form words. "Pop quiz. Using the principles from today's lesson, calculate where we'll be next Tuesday last week. Show your work." The Nexeri commander felt something he had never experienced before. A sensation his species equivalent to a headache. Are they teaching us? Is this entire chase some sort of elaborate educational program? "Sir," Myrax spoke up, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement, "you need to see this. The humans didn't just leave us basic temporal theory. They left us homework, actual assignments. And they're grading us." On cue, a series of temporal beacons activated throughout the system, each one containing detailed feedback on the Nexeri's previous attempts to track human movements through time. Comments ranged from "good effort," "keep practicing," to "creative approach," but remember, time isn't linear, and neither is thinking. The most maddening part wasn't that humanity had escaped. It wasn't even that they were staying just ahead of their pursuers. It was that they had somehow turned the greatest military pursuit in Nexeri history into an accredited educational program. "Sir," Tactical Officer Vex Thor reported, "we've decoded another set of coordinates. But there's something odd about them. Define odd. They're accompanied by a syllabus. Apparently, we've just completed the prerequisites for something called advanced nonlinear causality and its applications in intergalactic hide and seek." Zax Thor's crystalline form pulsed with colors that had no equivalent in human visual spectrum, a complex mixture of frustration, fascination, and what might have been the first glimpse of understanding. "You know what the worst part is," he mused aloud. "We're learning more about temporal physics from these cosmic lesson plans than we did in centuries of research." Another message flickered across the stars. "Congratulations on completing the introductory course. Ready for the advanced seminar." Warning: side effects may include questioning everything you thought you knew about reality. Don't worry, that's normal. The Nexeri Empire had come looking for conquest and found themselves enrolled in the universe's most elaborate distance learning program. As they prepared to follow the next temporal trail, Zaxthor couldn't shake the feeling that humanity wasn't running away. They were leading the way, one lesson at a time. 3 months into what had become known as the Great Cosmic Education Program, High Commander Zaxthor found himself in a situation unprecedented in Nexeri history. His invasion fleet had become a traveling university. The Betelgeuse Research Station hung before them in space, a massive structure that somehow existed in 3 different time periods simultaneously. Its central hub operated in the present, while its outer rings spiraled through past and future in a mesmerizing dance of temporal engineering. The Nexeri Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, but they had never encountered anything like this. High Commander Zaxthor stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn, his crystalline form refracting the light of Earth's sun as he processed the impossible data before him. "Scan again," he ordered, his voice resonating through the Crystal-Tech communications network that connected the entire invasion fleet. "Sir, results remain unchanged," reported First Observer Kylix. "0 biological signatures on the planet's surface or in orbit. No active technology signatures. No defense systems. Just messages." The messages. They were everywhere. Carved into the surface of Mars in letters large enough to be seen from orbit. "Thanks for the motivation." A series of satellites arranged in perfect geometric patterns, each broadcasting the same thing on loop. "Catch up when you can." Even the moon had been transformed into some sort of massive art installation, its surface now covered in what human historical records identified as memes. 8 billion humans. Gone. Not dead. Gone. The difference was crucial and maddening. The Nexeri's quantum probability engines had calculated a 99.99% chance of success for this invasion. Earth should have been primitive, just beginning to grasp interstellar travel. Instead, they found a planet that had been evacuated with such precision and planning that it defied their understanding of physics itself. "Play the primary message again," Zaxthor commanded, his crystalline fingers tapping against the command console in a rhythm that betrayed his agitation. A hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, showing what appeared to be a human female in a casual posture, sitting in what their databases identified as a lawn chair, drinking something called a smoothie. "Hey there, Nexeri Empire. Sorry we couldn't stick around for the whole conquest thing. We had a better offer, but since you came all this way, we left you a present. Well, lots of presents, actually. Think of it as a scavenger hunt across space and time. Fair warning, we've had about 3 centuries to set this up. Thanks to that neat little temporal physics breakthrough you motivated us to figure out. Amazing what humanity can do with a deadline, right?" The hologram took another sip of her drink. "Oh, and don't worry about trying to track this message's origin point. It was recorded yesterday, broadcast tomorrow, and looped through a quantum fold we invented Tuesday after next. Time is funny that way." Zaxthor's crystalline structure vibrated with frustration. The casualness of it all was perhaps the greatest insult. Humanity hadn't just escaped. They had turned their escape into performance art. "Sir," Kylix interrupted, "we're detecting temporal anomalies across the solar system. They appear to be breadcrumbs." "Breadcrumbs?" "Yes, sir. Each one leads to a different point in spacetime, and each one is marked with what appears to be a rating system of difficulty, from beginner to reality vending." The hologram message continued, the human smile growing wider. "Here's the deal. Follow our trail, learn our tricks, maybe even figure out why we did all this. Or don't, your choice. But fair warning, every civilization that's ever tried to conquer Earth is already with us. Turns out, the best defense isn't a good offense. It's a really interesting guided tour of the universe's mysteries." Zaxthor's form pulsed with colors that indicated deep thought. The Nexeri Empire had never failed to conquer a target world, but they had also never encountered a species that had turned running away into an art form, complete with tour guides and difficulty ratings. "Launch quantum probes along each temporal trail," he ordered finally. "Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about where these humans went, how they did it, and why they're treating this like some sort of cosmic game." As the orders went out, a final message appeared, projected across the surface of Earth's moon in shimmering letters of light. Lesson 1. Time isn't a river, it's a playground. Try to keep up. The greatest hunt in galactic history was about to begin. But as Zaxthor would soon learn, when you're chasing a species that has mastered time itself, the line between hunter and student becomes remarkably thin. Last edited 13 hours ago. The Proxima Centauri system was supposed to be their first real lead. Instead, High Commander Zaxthor found himself staring at what could only be described as a cosmic art installation. The entire star system had been transformed into an elaborate temporal puzzle. Each planet rotated through different time periods like the gears of a clock, synchronized in a dance that shouldn't have been possible. On the third planet, they found a domed facility with a simple sign: Temporal Physics 101. Audit Class Welcome. Report. Zaxthor commanded, his crystalline form, the Arcturians, the Zeta Collective, even the hegemony of 7 suns, all the civilizations that vanished after encountering Earth. They're all here, or rather, they were here, are here, will be here. She paused, her crystalline structure pulsing with the effort of processing temporal mechanics. Time is complicated. The nebula's core pulsed with energy, projecting a message written in the quantum foam of space itself. Welcome to the revolution. Please ensure your paradigms are ready to shift. As the Nexeri fleet watched, the nebula began to play back records, not just of humanity's journey through time, but of every species that had ever attempted to conquer Earth. Each had been led on a similar chase, each had been taught the same lessons, and each had eventually discovered what the Nexeri were about to learn. "Sir," Kylix called out, "we're receiving a transmission. It's different from the others." A human figure materialized on the bridge, but unlike the playful holograms they'd encountered before, this one carried an air of gravity. "Congratulations on making it this far," the figure said. "You're ready to learn why we did all this." The hologram gestured, and the space around the fleet transformed. They saw images of Earth's past, not just its recent history, but millions of years of evolution, struggle, and growth. They saw humanity's first steps into space, their early conflicts, their near misses with self-destruction. "We discovered something about the universe," the hologram continued. "Something that changed everything we thought we knew about existence itself. We discovered that consciousness, true, self-aware consciousness, is more than just a product of evolution. It's a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism." The nebula's gases shifted, forming complex patterns that the Nexeri now recognized as equations describing consciousness itself. "But here's the thing," the hologram said, "consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it shapes it. The more advanced a civilization becomes, the more it affects the very fabric of existence. And when multiple advanced civilizations interact, the resonance cascade," Myrax whispered, "that's what you've been teaching us to create." "Exactly," the hologram smiled. "Every species that reaches for the stars has a choice to make. They can try to conquer, to dominate, to impose their version of consciousness on the universe, or they can learn to play their part in the greatest symphony reality has ever known." The nebula erupted with light, showing the paths of dozens of civilizations through time and space, all weaving together in a pattern of breathtaking complexity. "We didn't run because we were afraid," the hologram explained. "We ran because we needed to show you something that couldn't be told. It had to be experienced." Zaxthor's crystalline form resonated with understanding. The temporal physics lessons, the paradoxes, the games, they weren't just about teaching us how to manipulate time. "No," the hologram agreed. They were about teaching you how to see, how to understand that the universe isn't a territory to be conquered. It's a collaboration waiting to happen. Every species that has ever tried to conquer Earth has ended up here, learning this lesson. And every single one of them has chosen to join what we're building. And what exactly are you building? Zaxthor asked, although part of him already knew the answer. The hologram's smile widened. The next phase of universal evolution. A network of consciousness spanning all of space and time, working in harmony to reshape reality itself. We call it the quantum symphony. And now you have to make a choice. As if on cue, new coordinates appeared. Coordinates that would lead the Nexari fleet to what the humans called Graduation Day. But Zaxthor realized it was more than that. It was an invitation to join something greater than conquest, greater than empire, greater than anything the Nexari had ever imagined. The coordinates led the Nexari fleet to a place that shouldn't exist, a bubble of space-time where all moments existed simultaneously, a confluence point where past, present, and future danced together in perfect harmony. Here, at last, they found humanity, along with every other species that had once sought to conquer Earth. High Commander Zaxthor stood on his bridge, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that reflected the impossible beauty. Before him, the bubble stretched out in all directions, filled with structures that defied conventional physics, cities that existed in multiple time periods at once, research stations that used temporal mechanics as casually as the Nexari used quantum technology, and at the center of it all, a massive construct that could only be described as a symphony hall for reality itself. Welcome to the Concordance, came a familiar voice, the same human who had first greeted them at Earth, now standing on the bridge as if she had always been there. Sorry about the elaborate chase, but some things have to be experienced to be understood. Around them, representatives of dozens of species went about their work, former enemies now colleagues, one-time conquerors turned collaborators. The Arcturians, with their energy-based bodies, worked alongside the silicon life forms of the Zeta Collective. The hegemony of 7 suns, once the most aggressive empire in their galaxy, now conducted temporal research with species they had once sought to subjugate. You're probably wondering why, the human said, gesturing to the impossible space around them. Why go to all this trouble? Why not just tell us about this place when we arrived at Earth? The thought had crossed my mind, Zaxthor admitted. She smiled. Because understanding isn't the same as knowing. We needed you to experience the journey, to learn not just the science but the philosophy behind it. The universe isn't a resource to be exploited or a territory to be conquered. It's an instrument waiting to be played. As if to demonstrate, she gestured, and the space around them resonated with energy. The temporal harmonics they had been studying throughout their chase suddenly made sense. They were literally the music of reality, consciousness itself playing across the strings of space-time. The quantum symphony isn't just a metaphor, explained a nearby Arcturian, its energy form pulsing in time with the temporal resonances. It's the literal truth. Every conscious species adds its own unique frequency to the universal orchestra. The more of us who join, the richer and more complex the music becomes. Mirax, who had been studying the readings from their surroundings, suddenly straightened. The temporal patterns we've been tracking, they're not just paths through time. They're musical notation written in the fabric of reality itself. Now you're getting it. The human grinned. Humanity's gift wasn't mastering time travel or even creating this space. Our gift was recognizing that consciousness itself is meant to harmonize, not compete. Every species that reaches for the stars adds its own unique voice to the universe's song. Around them, the bubble hummed with energy as dozens of civilizations worked together, each contributing their unique understanding and capabilities to projects that would have been impossible alone. Time wasn't just a dimension here. It was a medium for creation, for exploration, for growth. So, the human said, turning to Zaxthor, ready to add your voice to the symphony. The commander looked at his fleet, at his crew, at the crystalline technology they had once thought represented the pinnacle of achievement. Now he understood. They hadn't been pursuing humanity across the cosmos. They had been pursuing evolution itself, chasing the next step in universal consciousness. "There is one condition," he said finally. The human raised an eyebrow. "Oh, the next time someone comes looking to conquer Earth, we want to help design the lesson plan." Laughter rippled across the bridge, not just human laughter, but the equivalent expressions of joy from dozens of species who had once stood where the Nexari now stood, making the same discovery, choosing the same path. "Welcome to the faculty," the human grinned. "Fair warning. The universe's greatest classroom has a pretty strict grading curve." As the Nexari fleet integrated into the Concordance, Zaxthor reflected on how far they had come. They had arrived as conquerors and become students, only to find that the greatest conquest of all was the victory over the instinct to conquer itself. The universe, it turned out, had never needed emperors. It had needed composers, collaborators, fellow players in the greatest symphony ever written. A symphony played across all of space and time, written in the language of consciousness itself. And somewhere, someone, humanity was already preparing the next lesson plan for the next species that would look at Earth and see not a civilization to be conquered, but the first notes of a song they didn't yet know how to hear.